what a game, you guys. What a game. My goodness, that Texas Ohio State game. Whew, I was a bundle of nerves that whole entire game, all the way up until the end. I got a text from somebody when there was about 4 minutes left saying, hey, can you celebrate yet? I'm like, nope. There's too much time left on this clock. I cannot celebrate yet. And what do you know? Texas made it close all the way to the end. Hats off to them. Seriously, they are an incredibly good team. They have so much talent on their team. And it was down to the wire. I mean, it was a game of inches with those multiple goal stops. Okay, I'm going to get into that a little bit later because, first of all, my name's Buckeye Football Fangirl. Thank you for joining me for this game reaction. And one of the things I'm going to try to do after some of the big Ohio State games this year, I started last season, is just enjoyable ice cream after the game. Ice cream is always better when it's victory ice cream and you're celebrating a win. So it's the best kind of ice cream right here. However, it can help a little bit with the losses too, because those happen as well, as we Buckeye fans know. So anyways, that game, my goodness, I didn't know what to expect heading into the season. Of course, it's the first time these teams are playing. They have completely, not completely new rosters, but there's so many new players on both of these teams. It was the talk in the pregame, 13 players from Ohio State that went in the draft, 12 players from Texas that went in the draft. So they are starting over with a lot of people who are starting for the first time. These are, there were so many faces that were starting their very first game there. Of course, you've got the veterans back on Ohio State side, like Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles. And so you've got experience there, Carnell Tate, but you are adding into the mix just players who haven't been there before, who haven't done this before. And you never know what to expect. And we didn't know what to expect going into it. We didn't know what Ohio State was going to look like. We didn't know what Texas was going to look like. That's part of the fun. Plus the whole, talk leading up to this, it's a number 1 versus number 3 game. If you're looking at a certain poll, if you look at another poll, number 1 versus number 2. And so, right off the bat, we're expecting a good matchup, of course, but you just don't know how it's going to play out. And this game, oh man, I don't think any of us were expecting this. It was close to being a shutout, but it was not a shutout. But again, it was a game of inches. I feel like this was kind of the 4th down game. There were so many going for it on 4th downs. Like, I think that might have been the most I've seen in a college football game. I'm trying to remember another one. So if you guys know of another one, let me know, because there were so many 4th downs where the team were going for it. And I kind of love that aggressive energy. Like, let's just go for it and see what happens. And sometimes it worked out and other times it didn't. Ohio State got some of those and then they didn't get some of those. Texas got some of them, and then when it really mattered, they didn't get them. Because our defense, my goodness, you guys, our defense, this Ohio State defense, man, they were good last year. I miss a lot of those defensive players from last year's team, but this year's defense is fire. Those goal line stops, the red zone stops, my goodness, I was so nervous watching those. Like, oh my goodness, Texas is going for it. That first one, it was like first, 4th and inches. Can our defense stop that? And yes, they did. It was incredible. And Iggy not getting the penalty when, that the second goal line stand there and they threw the ball right at the person he was covering. Beautiful coverage right there. My goodness, he did his job. He didn't get a penalty, didn't get a flag, and they stopped him again. It was incredible. And then, they're just making so many plays on defense. Arvell Reese made so many plays on defense. He was just lighting people up during the game, and it was so cool to see. And then we can't not talk about that interception by Jermaine Matthews Jr. Oh, that was beautiful. My goodness, such an amazing, incredible interception. He read that whole route. He knew where the ball was going, and he was there. He was ready. It was beautiful. There were almost 2 interceptions, but unfortunately, the other wasn't quite a catch. But, this whole entire defense, I've mentioned several names here, but just, hands down, I was so happy. This defense was electric. Yeah, you could tell they were starting to get a little tired by the end of the game, but they held it down when they needed to. They got the plays when they needed to, and it's looking good. And I think one of the things I was thinking about during the game, too, there was so much talk in some of the other shows that I watch and I listen to leading up to the game where they were making predictions. How is this game going to go? They basically said, we don't know. But if we were to predict something, there's a lot of unknowns around Ohio State because we have two new coordinators. Brian Hartline on offense, Matt Patricia on defense. Matt Patricia especially was a huge question mark for Ohio State. Nobody really knew what it was going to look like with him coming in, them kind of stepping in, coming from the NFL. College ball is different, but nobody knew what it was going to look like. And I almost feel like that was actually a benefit in Ohio State's favor. A lot of people were actually swinging their guesses to Texas's side because of those unknowns. And you really don't know. It could have gone either way. But I feel like that was almost a benefit for Ohio State because then Texas didn't know what it was going to look like either. We didn't know what it was going to look like. They didn't know what it was going to look like. Texas didn't know what it was going to look like. So he was able to come in and I don't know, I was so happy with what we saw on defense there. I think it's a great sign for what's to come throughout the rest of the season. So I'm so stoked to see just how this team progresses as the games go on, as they play more and more games here. On offense, it wasn't quite as electric, but you know what, guys? They got it done. They got the points that they needed, and they got it done. Julian Sayin, especially, he looked so poised for his very first start here. I couldn't believe it. He was just calm, cool, collected. His throws looked good. There were some uncharacteristic drops. I'm not too worried about those because I don't think we're going to see those reoccurring throughout the rest of the season. So I think that was just, weird first game jitters or something, who knows what. But he just stepped up. He did what he needed to do. He delivered where he needed to deliver it. He got that chance at the long ball down the field to Carnell Tate. And when Carnell Tate reeled that pass in, oh my gosh, it was electric. I went crazy. I was jumping all around. But it was such a beautiful catch. I mean, looking at some of the pictures that the Ohio State media team captured afterwards, and you're seeing from every angle the defender that was just draped around Tate. And that catch was incredible. Good throw by Julian Sayin too. Good, play and scheme and scheming Tate open there and letting him go. And then to have Tate catch it, of all the receivers too. I love that for him. So super happy with that. The run game, we saw some success there. We saw some struggles there. I think, there's definitely room for improvement there. But I don't think I don't think we really have to worry about that. I think CJ Donaldson's going to be good. I think James Peoples, he's going to get, they're going to improve. They're going to get better vision as the season goes on. The line is going to open up more holes for them, and they're going to be able to just hit it and go. So I'm not worried about that, really. I don't know. This team, it feels good. It feels good starting this season out with a win like this. It could have gone either way, even down to the very end there. The game could have swung in either team's favor. I think really, we were looking at some of the top teams playing football. We're going to see them again. Ryan Day said it in his press conference, we will see them again. He phrased it more like, when we see them again, but I feel like we're going to see them again down the line in the championship run. So it'll look very different then, as we saw. Teams change over the course of a season. I think Ohio State's just going to continue to get better and better. We have a couple games now to just, cool off, chill off as fans, and, hopefully not get as worked up and nervous as I got during this game. We've got Grambling State coming up, followed by Ohio University, before the Buckeyes head out to Washington. That's gonna be an interesting game, just coming out to the West Coast. That's where I am, but coming out to the West Coast and then playing Washington, so that should be a fun one. And then there's some tricky games this season, but I have a feeling, guys, it's gonna be a good season. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to see how these Buckeyes grow and develop as the season runs on. I'm gonna enjoy this ice cream now because, my goodness, as a fan, it feels good. So thank you guys again for joining me. Drop me your comments below. Let me know, what did you think of this game? What were your takeaways? What did you like? What did you not like? Where are your biggest areas where you can see, the Buckeyes need to improve moving forward? So I'd love to hear that from you. Thank you again for joining me. Looking forward, I'm not going to be doing videos for every single game this season, but I will do videos for, the bigger games, the more marquee matchups. So I will be back. It'll be a little bit. It'll be a couple weeks until I drop another video. But until then, thank you as always for watching, and go Bucks!